Ya, YouTube. Live streaming in YouTube. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our Nudc selection of Muhammadiyah University Kalimantan Timur. And welcome to our fifth round, or the final round, or the last round for today's selection. So, Oke, sebentar lagi kita akan menunjukkan untuk posisinya masing-masing ya. Okay, so here is the position. We have pendidikan bahasa Inggris for opening government, management for opening opposition, psikologi as closing government, and hubungan internasional as closing opposition. Any question before we launch the motion? Well, if there is no question, then I'm going to launch the motion. Okay, our motion today is discuss regret the glamorization of startup culture that people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career path. Any question? Discuss regret the glamorization of startup culture that people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career path. Is there any question?
May I ask, ma'am?
Yes.
How about our position?
Sorry?
How about our position?
Posisi
Will
tadi
be the
tadi sudah sih di share ini. Saya sebutkan lagi ya. Tadi sebenarnya sudah di iniin.
Mohon maaf tadi saya tidak mendengar.
Oh ya, nggak apa-apa. Opening government-nya pendidikan bahasa Inggris, closing government-nya psikologi, opening opposition-nya manajemen, tuh udah closing opposition-nya hubungan internasional. Any more question, guys?
For me, no, thank you.
Okay, if there is no question,
Ma'am, can I ask about the motion?
Oh yes, yes.
A traditional career path here means that what is that? The another career that has been built by another person, by someone else, something like that?
Startup is something startup itu kan something yang baru ada ya sekarang ya. Kayak dulu kan zaman dulu itu nggak ada tuh startup. Nah, traditional career path ini something yang kayak sudah biasa dilakukan oleh kita orang-orang zaman dulu dalam hal bekerja, misalnya starting dari sebagai karyawan kontrak, kemudian menjadi karyawan tetap, kemudian akhirnya bahkan sampai pensiun. Jadi traditional career path itu orang-orang yang biasanya lebih senang bekerja di tempat-tempat yang sudah terstruktur daripada startup yang mana mereka harus build their own company first.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ada lagi yang mau ditanyakan? Okay, if there is no question, then the building can start from now. Okay, time is up. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our final round of NUDC selection of Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur University. Under our motion today is this house repeat the glamorization of startup culture, that people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career path. Acting as opening government, we have pendidikan bahasa Inggris. Acting as closing government, we have psikologi. Acting as opening opposition, we have management. And acting as closing opposition, we have hubungan internasional. Now to open our debate, let's call the Prime Minister. Here.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, I will start my speech at 3, 2, 1. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you having a great day today. So I would like to introduce myself. We, as the opening government, strongly agree with this motion. And the motion is this House agreed the glamorization of startup culture, that people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career paths. Before I jump to the definition, I would like to tell you the background of this motion. So startup company are companies or ventures that focus around a single product or a service that the founders want to bring to the market. This company typically don't have fully developed business model, and more crucially lack adequate capital to move on to the next phase of business. So most of this company initially funded by their funders or their investors. So I'll jump to the definition. So a startup culture is a workplace environment that values creative problem solving, open communication, and a flat hierarchy. So the traditional career is models are grounded in a long-term relationship between the individual and one or two companies over the individual working life. So in a corporate culture, core values are typically informed by the identity of the company, including its mission statement, product, and customer service. In a startup culture, these core values tend to reflect the personality and the ethos of the people who work from the business in the early days. Because a new business must adapt quickly to internal and external market pressures in order to survive, a startup culture also promotes business agility and adaptability and being key virtues. So the workplace values supported by startup company cultures are increasingly resonating with the business leaders that at a large organization, as the pace of the business spends up quicker in a part by advance and technology. Large companies are realizing that they could benefit greatly by putting more emphasis in startup culture. Okay, I'll jump to my argument. So, ladies and gentlemen, the startup environment is typically fast-paced culture in which creativity and communication are valued. Startups tend to be smaller and large companies, especially in an early stage of the growth, enabling employees build a strong business practice and hit shifting goals. I would like to so the traditional carrier are protein or boundaryless career. So the ladies and gentlemen, did you know that another thing that the most startup nowadays are internet-based application and website. So it is limiting the innovation in other fields, and people are not considering in the other areas. So the saturation point can be around the corner, and that is troublesome. So and also we should not forget that the saturation is not visible yet, and the reactability of internet made it what it is today. So the penetration is still increasing, and various demographics have their own demand. So the saturation point where base product and service far-fetched thought. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen? So people in other field, in other internet or technology field, cannot get more change to start their own path, start their own, have not they not have a background of the technology itself. So can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, how crucial it is? So and also
POI, please.
no, thank you. So those people are trying in a different sector, but the growth chain is in a sector with minimum investment. So it's hard to people in other field to start their career because they have no big technologies background, and the investment there's no investment to the people who not do in a technologies background, and it's easily noticeable, and hence media it's talking more and more in this startup and not the other one. So the startup itself is not only have a bad but also have a good in some way. But can you imagine the person who want to take the traditional career path cannot challenge, cannot compete by other people because they have no background of this technology, like in like most of the startup companies start. So I'll jump to the conclusion. So we as a opening government strongly agree with this motion because we can see that a lot of people, a lot of person who want try the traditional career path cannot join the startup company because they don't have any technologies background. So as an opening government, we strongly agree with this motion. We close the case. Thank you so much.
The Prime Minister spent 6 minutes 57 seconds, 6 minutes 7 seconds. Now to open the case from the opposition side of the house. Let's
Ma'am,
yes.
before you continue, can we ask for some time because electricity just got turned off in our place?
Uh-huh.
So can we prepare something first? I mean, the laptop, the jaringan and everything.
5 minutes. 5 minutes enough. 5 menit ya, 5 minutes. Nah, yang
Ma'am, is that okay for us for not showing our face?
Sorry? Sorry, I cannot hear you. Could you repeat what? Psikologi?
Ma'am, is it okay for us for not showing our face? Because we are having some technical issue.
Well, all right, that's okay then.
Okay.
So I think we can start now. Let's call the leader of opposition. Here.
Thank you so much for the time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Irfan Chandrandrian from the opposite side. Here I want to rebuttal from the opening of government arguments first. First, he said that the people who has no background, technology background, cannot start up the business nowadays. I totally disagree with that argument because the business is not just about the technology. We can start the business even for a small thing. That means like like a sell and buy, like a demand and like a buy and sell. So the selling is a business already. So we can start up even from the small thing like a convenience store or maybe just a traditional market in the market. And then I want to jump to my own argument. First, this house regret the glamorization of startup culture that the people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career path. From our side, we totally disagree with this motion because we totally don't regret anything about the culture that people should start their own company. First, we cannot judge that everything big nowadays start from something small. For example, Google, Apple, Facebook, and etc. So in culture nowadays, we can do the same as our forerunners such as Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and Bill Gates. These are examples of people who don't follow the traditional career path culture and they don't regret anything. The thing we can regret is not doing anything at all. All we need to do is try, and try. To make people get their ambition to start up a new company, we suggest open their mind and give some support to people who want to change rather than to be changed. So in this culture already started several times ago, especially when government imply the K-13 in 2013, where students, especially senior high school students, are requested to learn by themselves and teacher will give suggestion and direction rather than old curriculum KTSP 2006 that students should follow what teachers say. Back to main motion, we prefer to make our own business, where we can make up the business as convenient as we want. Even though this activity has a lot of risk and challenge, such as bad management and especially funds. This is the main reason people don't want to start a new business. If this so, we suggest the government could give a little support to people who asking for changing, such as given an easy to find capital. And for the attitude for the ambitious we talked earlier, we already have from the government's education program such as curriculum 2013 like that. And then for the example for nowadays for this startup, the successful startup business, we have the Kopiria. Kopiria start from the little cafe, but now we can see Kopiria in every side, every corner in Samarinda. So what is the problem for building a new business for a new people who don't get job in a big company? So beside of the we can make our own career, we can open a new career for other people. We can help other people. And then for the business, that's not only about technology and or coffee or something like that. Business is not just technology. For example, we can start a new little business such as agriculture or farm. They can start from the small phone, such as we just need a field at a time to do it. So we can improve and expand the business by ourselves by the time. For example, first we start with the 1 hectare field, and then the next year we start with 2 hectare field, and so on, and even bigger. And for the farmer itself, it can get the technological education by following the new webinar or etc. that performed by government to support the little businessman like that. I think that's all. But from me, thanks a lot for your attention. Any POI before we reach the 6 minutes? If there are no POI, I think I will end my argument today. Thanks a lot for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The leader of opposition spent 5 minutes 30 seconds, 5 minutes 30 seconds. Now to close the case from the opening government, let's call the deputy of prime minister. Here.
Am I audible?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the time. It is such an honor. The honorable judges and audience, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Nurulisa as the deputy of the government team. So the topic for today's debate is this house regret the glamorization of startup culture that people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career path. I would like to reaffirm our stand in this motion is that we totally agree that we regret the glamorization of startup culture that people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career path. So before we get into the argument from the government team, we would like to rebuttal first. So you say that people that have no technology background can build their own company, and also you say that Google start at a small company. Did you forget that Google are still in technology field? Yes, their own company from the bottom, but it's still connected to the technology field. Technology
POI, please.
background. No, thank you. And also, Coperia is not a startup company. You have to know what is the definition of startup company itself that the government, that the opening government already explained about before. Now, I would like to deliver my argument. So, a startup company is hard work and it could take many years to build a company from a startup. Because of that, it can cause a lot of disadvantages. For example, risks. Most of startup company fails within their first year of operation. So the risk of failure is high. Working under such high risk can blur a startup strategic vision. So they either fail to seize market opportunities or overestimate their sales projections. High risk also hinders their startup ability to attract experienced and competent staff. Second is compensation. For a company to build up a company from startup, it takes a lot of long hours work in the norm of startup. The rewards might be low since it takes time to generate revenue and make profits from startup, since it works without proper compensation. And the market access that the startup company
have is without a customer base, understanding the market need also needed becomes a real struggle. All these factors combined increase the cost of business development for startups. And next is team composition. Some startups are born out desperation since the founder could not find or hold on to a job. Such as founder often struggle to build a team that the business needs to succeed. A successful startup requires founders and co-directors with complementary personalities and competencies. Even the disagreement can creep in when things get rough. Next is the stress. We did mention that maybe a startup company is such a fun way to develop a company, but also it can be very stressful. Low compensation, many responsibilities, long working hour are one of them. So that is why. No, thank you. That is why people should choose traditional career path instead of startup company, because in traditional career path, it's more characterized by more structured, formal approach to company culture. Because many corporations employ thousands of workers, it's not uncommon for employers to be unfamiliar with colleagues. It's outside of their immediate teams or department. In traditional career path, they also have years of experience under their belt. Traditional career paths tend to have consecrated procedures, protocols, and guidelines that the government daily operation. These regulations can sometimes have the effect of slowing down the innovative process. Based on that reason, this is why the government regrets the glamorization of startup culture for people to start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career paths. And based on that, we are from the government team. Thank you.
The deputy of Prime Minister spends 5 minutes 33 seconds, 5 minutes 33 seconds. Now to close the case from the opening bench, let's call the deputy leader of opposition. See you here.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone, and I hope you have a great day today. And I'm here as the second speaker or the deputy of the opposite team. I want to give some rebuttal for the government team. From this motion today, this House regret the glamorization of the startup culture that people should start their own company rather than they're pursuing traditional career path. And they also say that, but people doesn't have any investment and they don't have technology background. But you know that people can get investment from their earning from their job before. And did you know that there is a system that the bank loan to help? The bank will help us to open startup and they will support us because they also invest it to us. And then about the technology background, like my first speaker said that everyone can learn technology, such as from the webinar. And yeah, I'm agree with that because everyone can learn. You know, in nowadays course in the school, there is a TIK, the technology of computer and information. And this course is to let them know about the technology, and they can also experience more about the technology by other way, such as they could ask the younger who knew about the technology or someone who really good at it, and or they can go make a startup together with the people who know the technology. And then by this motion that we say we are not regret to glamorize startup without saying people can't choose traditional career path, but we fully suggest to people that startup is a great idea for today. And they also said that Copyria isn't startup. Yes, they are for now, but the history is they are also start from the startup business. And they also talk about the risks and fails about this startup, that people can get the failure by this startup. They don't always be success in the startup, but so do the traditional path. When they have to compete to each other, they have to compete to their own colleges, they have to compete to their own friends, they have to compete to each other to get the company. Do we guarantee that they also be success? No. There is a risk and failure in every choice. Yes. And then they also said that startup need long hours to work to get the revenue. But the benefit of the startup itself, if you want to know it, ladies and gentlemen, the benefit of startup, they can schedule their own time. They can manage their own time. And then they also said that startup need people who have competencies. And yes, we support people to grow. We build the characteristic for people. We support people to do the startup. So is that mean that traditional career doesn't need the competencies from people? I think not. And let's move into
please.
my argument. Yes, please.
So you said that startup company is more better than traditional career path. That did you know that statistically of 1,000 startups, only 1% could survive. Do you know about that? And how you solve it? How you can explain that traditional career path is so bad?
Okay, I got that. And yes, there, like I said before, there are risks and fail. And I believe that there is risks and fail. Then you say that from 1,000, there's one startup will grow bigger, but it doesn't mean that other startup will go down below than zero. No, we are disbelieve that. And that also happened to the traditional career path, to the one who chose traditional career path. Yeah, they can go for the upper position, or they could get fired from their company. And that's it. Okay, let's come to my argument about today motion is this house regret, the glamorization of the startup culture, that people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career path. Yes, we believe that. We believe this. We totally disagree about this. Because of what? Because startup making the job fail rather than being an employee. Why can't we start to our own business and provide jobs out there to welfare the society? And also this startup developing through era, and we are not getting stuck in here. We are becoming a developed country. People can adapt to changes and uncertainty. And also people can developing by startup, which is quite success in nowadays. For the example is the export and import business, the export and import startup business. That many profit they can get, and many jobs that they can offer to people. And then startup also help the society in their economy, which big company will choose very selective people for their company, very selective worker for their company, but startup will accept them. They will offer all the job for them. And also developing our economy in country, because there are less unemployment for us. And then because startup is from a very small business, it doesn't mean it always be fail. We believe that if they have competencies in there, they could build a big company for us. And like what Jeffrey Busgang said, he is the general partner at early stage venture capital firm Flybridge and senior lecturer at Harvard Business School. They loosely define roles at startup to lead to more unified team approach and to pursuing goals. And the goal is here is to be a developed people and developed country. And then startup also let people to be more creative because they could make many product and many invention in every field. That's all from me. I believe this motion should be for. Thank you.
The deputy leader of opposition spent 7 minutes 30 seconds. 7 minutes 30 seconds. Now to open the case from the closing bench, let's call the member of government. See here.
Hello. Is there a lot of noise in my voice before I start?
No, your voice is good.
Thank God. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Under the motion today, this House regret the glamorization of startup culture that people rather than pursuing the traditional career path. Well, ladies and gentlemen, under the motion today, I'm acting as the member of the government and as the member of government, I'm going to tell you guys how this debate has been going so far. First of all, from the very beginning, the definition has been given for us by the opening government, opening has been given to us by the opening government, and also after that they deliver several arguments, and then followed by several rebuttal by the opposition team and also their point of argument. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do agree with the definition, so we're going to go with the definition that has been given. So, ladies and gentlemen, talking about the idea before, there is something that I want to clarify first. The thing that opening government slightly failed to deliver is the second speaker of the government side of the house mentioned that Kopiria is not part of the startup. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a total wrong idea because startup means something that just started and a small company, something like that. And Kopiria, on the other hand, is a food and beverages a kind of company. In this kind of point, we are going to go with that. Even if the opening government has been giving a limitation for this, we as the closing government totally believe that it is a wrong kind of limitation because it's just narrowing too much of this debate. And I think we are going to accept the opposition side of the house argument, but which is going to be my point of rebuttal. Ladies and gentlemen, like the previous speaker of the opposition side of the house has been delivered, he mentioned about how Kopiria is a really good startup. Well, I do agree. Now take a look at the other kind of startup that exists after Kopiria. There is a lot of place and there is too little benefit. Because of what? Because the demand has been taken by this first startup that's shown up. Not all startup that created going to be shining like Kopiria. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? The simple thing is because Kopiria do it first, and Kopiria do it first, and all this other people doesn't have, all this other startup doesn't have the same kind of quality, just like Kopiria. Not able to keeping up with this, Kopiria tend to stand better, and yes, and the other startup doesn't work. And that's why we regret the glamorization of startup culture, ladies and gentlemen. And talking about another thing, that startup is a part of career in which someone has to open a total adaptive company. Well, if we're talking about an adaptive company, this is going to be a challenge for those startup people, in which although the startup culture doesn't tell them about that. The opposition team tend to believe that there is no flaws in the startup culture. Because of why? Because they only see the point that it is good and there's a high expectation exists. Well, me as the government side of the house and as the member of government, I'm going to deliver to you why this is not a good thing and why we regret all this. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that I'm going to say is that startup comes with a risky path. Why is that? Even though we can hope for not a lot of big things, a lot of big dreams, but in the end of the day, if we are having a lot of stuff, in the end of the day, we're going to have a lot of competition. In the end of the day, our coffee shop wouldn't be the number one because of what? Because a lot of coffee shop exist. Imagine this, ladies and gentlemen, if we are going to say the traditional career path, it's why it is slightly better because of why? Because you are given a fishing rod already from the beginning and you're just trying to catch the fish. But meanwhile, for this part of becoming a startup, to open a startup, you have to create your own fishing rod in order for you to catch your fish, which means in here the fish stands for profit. Stands for profit. And profit doesn't come really easy because of why? Because the competition happens to be a lot in Indonesia. Even there is, according to the data that has been found in the internet, there's a lot of things that a lot of places that has been closed because of why? Because they fail to understand their product, and also there's a lot. The number is 17, and also that's the first thing that I'm going to say. And then the second argument is actually talking about that. As your startup growing, there will be a lot of things happen, such as you're going to have a lot of competition around, and you cannot get the same amount of money or the same amount of profit because of the competition around. And in the end of the day, you're going to be living up with the debt of yours, living up in the debt in order to expand your place, or in order to close up your profit, to pay your workers, something like that. And it is a total bad thing because of why? Because it's going to help not only because of why? Because it's going to make you not able to progress in your kind of in your life, because you have to pay your debt. And there's no such guarantee that your previous income going back to you as fast as before. And because of all this thing, those two points, this thing exists as an individual who open this startup going to have some mental problems. First of all, mental instability. Because of why? Because they cannot pay their debt, because they have to think about the worker that works for them. Because it doesn't work, because they cannot do that anymore, the startup tends to have a bankruptcy because of this progress. So to avoid all that, we as the government side of the house believe that the regretting the glamorization of startup culture is a right thing to do. And through pursuing traditional career path, it's better because you are provided with a lot of things already. You can choose, you can see your path in there. You can be a manager. You want to start from the bottom, but you can see that this is your finish line in the end of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, to close my statement today, yes, we do agree Indonesia is still developing, but also we do agree that not all people who start up going to be making Indonesia developed. Because of why? Because not all startup going to work out in the end of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The member of government spent 7 minutes 31 seconds, 7 minutes 31 seconds. Now to open the case from the closing opposition, let's call the member of opposition. Here.
Am I audible? So I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So ladies and gentlemen, I will start with the status quo that's happening in our society right now. As we can see, in Indonesia itself, in our country, startup itself is a good choice since we don't have enough job field in this day, ladies and gentlemen. We, as our country, what will we facing if we don't encourage this startup, ladies and gentlemen? It will be have a lot of if we don't we don't do the glamorization of this startup itself, ladies and gentlemen. I will use the status quo as my stance today, ladies and gentlemen. So before moving on to my argument, why as the member of opposition, I would like to disagree with this motion and why this motion should fall. I would like to give you some rebuttals towards the government team and towards the argument that they have told before, ladies and gentlemen. So, the government team of the House told us that if you want to build a new startup, there is some risky path, and you need to face your own debt, ladies and gentlemen. And because of your own startup business debt, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a mental health issue because of the debt, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing that we believe as the opposition team: before making your own startup, the thing that you need to know, the thing that you need to face is how to make your own startup better, ladies and gentlemen, or how to make your own startup develop, how to make the development of your own startup, ladies and gentlemen. So we believe as the opposition team of this House, if people want to build some startup, it must be have a lot of things, a lot of talk to build this startup. To at the end of the day, it will be success, ladies and gentlemen. And also, the government team of this House having an analogy by the end told us catching fish analogy, which means that if you want to build a startup, you need to face the thing that you cannot catch your own fish, because there is a lot of startup that come, and also there is a lot of competitors that will compete with you, and many more, ladies and gentlemen. But they didn't see the fact that even in traditional career path, we also have the competition, right? We also have a competition between one workers and other workers, because we want to still standing there as the worker in that company, right? So it doesn't matter. The competition will also happen in many places, in anywhere, since there is a lot of people in that company, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not about the startup. It's the competition. The competition also happening everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. So the thing that this catching fish analogy is not something that is towards the start. It's not something that is important through the startup idea itself, ladies and gentlemen. And also, the government team of this House also mentioning about how big the technologies impact through making of the startup, ladies and gentlemen. Well, as you can see that the startup itself is not also, if you want to build a startup, it doesn't mean that you should have enough facilities such as technology, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to build startup, the thing that you should know is that you need to adapt. You need to know what is the basic equipment that you need in case of to build your own startup, ladies and gentlemen. And we believe the founder of this startup already know what kind of equipment that they need in case making their own startup better at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So moving on to my argument. Ladies and gentlemen, remembering our motion today, this House regrets the glamorization of startup culture that people should start their own company rather than pursuing traditional career path, ladies and gentlemen. So, why? As the opposition team of this House, we believe that this motion shall fall. First thing first, that I will bring again my status quo or what happening in our country right now, ladies and gentlemen. There is not a lot of job fields, ladies and gentlemen, that going around in our country, ladies and gentlemen. We need to see what happening in the future if we didn't encourage or we didn't do the glamorization of this startup culture, ladies and gentlemen. First thing first that you need to remember is people in Indonesia will also growing through the times, ladies and gentlemen, right? So we don't know how big our population in the end of the day, or how big the people that need the job in case of making their own self better, ladies and gentlemen. So if we didn't encouraging this startup culture in the first, the thing that we need to face is that a lot of people in Indonesia suffering, and the there will be a lot of people that living under poverty line because there is no job field and there is no people who want to do who want to open their own company, ladies and gentlemen. So uh, in case of making our future better, we as the opposition team believe that we should not regret the glamorization of this startup itself, ladies and gentlemen, because from this glamorization we will have a better future at the end of the day, and it will be a lot of people that having a job, ladies and gentlemen, and and it will be a better future for us itself, ladies and gentlemen. So we can take an example from Gojek, ladies and gentlemen. We can see that Gojek itself is a startup that built in Indonesia, and it already opened a lot of job field for people, ladies and gentlemen, for people who didn't have enough education, for example. The people itself, even those people didn't have a good education, a good education background. He or she still can work at this company, right, ladies and gentlemen, because it's really having a good benefit for them, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day. And the thing that we need to remember is that the traditional career path also have monotonous environment. So at the end of the day, since the competition also happening, and so in this, it will be more risky if we work in the traditional career path, ladies and gentlemen. That's all from me. Thank you.
The member of opposition spent 7 minutes 36 seconds. 7 minutes 36 seconds. Now to close the debate from the government bench, let's call the government whip. Here.
Hello, did I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As the government wave here, I'm going to, the time is not work. I'm going to bring my rebuttal, but before I bring my rebuttal, we are, as the government, once again, under the motions that the House regret the glamorizations of startup culture that people rather than pursuing traditional career path. We totally agree to regret the glamorizations of the startup culture. Okay, I'm going to go to my rebuttal about what's this about the previous speakers talking about. First of all, about the they say that they need to know and they need to plan their startup so they can do their startup and make it better and make it good. But we all know that failure is inevitable, that we all know that failure is something that we can't predict. We can predict the failure, but at the end of the day, we have a lot of fun, but there always be a failure in it. And the second things is the previous speakers again talking about if in the traditional career path in the traditional career path there is a competition too. Yes, there's a competition too, but it's narrowly by the sections. How about the startup? The startup is have a lot and have a big sections. No, thank you. Have a big sections of a competition. We can in a traditional careers, if in the company, if you have a competition with among your colleagues about your positions, they're only like 10 to 15 people. But in the startup, there is a competition. 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 There is a competition in a company there's maybe there's a two of them in the same positions want to get another position as their goal. The section was narrow, not the same as the startup. The startup have a big size of section, a big size of competition. So it's not the same. So maybe there is the same have a competitions, but the percentage was lower than the startup things. And then also
Sorry, ma'am. Can I POI?
no, thank you. Wait a minute. I'm still bring up my rebuttals. And the startup most likely open because of the trend of follower the trend of the follower means that it's not originals anymore. The originality is some things that we can do in the startup, because in the startup there is a concept. There is a concept about there is a concept about still the idea and added something to make a new things that anyone states that it will make it better, but no, because it's just little things that you add in it, and that's just the same. Okay, and after my rebuttal, I'm going to bring my elaborate about the previous speakers of mine. My friend.
Sorry, ma'am. Can I
about,
POI, please?
Yes, you may. Yes,
Yes.
you may.
Talking about the competition in there, people need to be competent for startup, and we are trying to help them grow. But people in traditional career can use insider to compete and get the highest position because of the insider.
Okay.
How you solve about
thank
that?
You. Okay, thank you. After 15 seconds, you say that in traditional career path is kind of hard to get the positions of the goals to the higher levels. Yeah, and the startup too. The startup has once again I said the startup has a big size of a competition, which means it's much harder than the traditional career path. Means it's much harder to reach the goals of their success, to reach the goals of what they want, the positions that they want, because the startup has the goal to be success more than the levels that have been there, the levels that they know as an original idea of the startup. Okay, I'm going to elaborate that. As my previous speakers have said that the startup culture, from the glamorization startup culture will cause a lot of things, such as much of debt and mental problems. We are that I'm going to say that the debt will be increased to make the economics of the citizens become decreased. The debt of them, they debt amount of money to make their startup. But when the startup will fail, they can't to pay their debt, and they fall to their poorness. And also about the mental health problems. After mental health problems, okay. In the first, people who do startup make a plan and everything, and that will be pressure them to think much more, go far from the other one, and that's going to pressure them and makes their mental being unstable to thinking about the future. And also after the death of them, the mental health issues going to be increased, because they're being really stressed and pressured about what they will do after that. And if that happened in our citizen, because of the glamorization, after everyone's thinking that being a startup was a really good thing because you can be success in your own path. That must be there's a lot of persons that fall to stressful and pressureness and depressed because they are failed. Because of course the percentage of the success and the fails is much in the failure. And once again, we are from the closing teams, where the closing government team says that we do agree that we agree the glamorization of the startup culture that people rather than pursuing traditional career path. Thank you.
The government whip spent 7 minutes 41 seconds, 7 minutes 41 seconds. Now to close our debate today, let's call the opposition whip. Here.
Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, as the second speaker of closing opposition team, firstly, I would like to deliver some rebuttals towards the government team that they deliver before. The thing that going on in this debate is that the government team believe it's more risky to having a new startup. Whether the opposition team believe that by this startup it will have a lot of benefit. So the class of this debate is that risk versus the benefit. The thing that we need to remember is that everything in this world have their own rates. And the rates itself, we need to face that. Okay. And I will going on to my rebuttals first. About the competition that they mentioned before. Yes. Okay. Yes. We agree. We agree that startup having competition too. And the thing that you need to remember is that a traditional career path also have their own competition between one workers and another worker. As my previous speaker told before, so competition is not a thing, and we believe that we already tackle it down. And second, about the mental health. Everyone have their own mental health problem, and it's not about what kind of competition, what kind of competition, what of competition that they have, what kind of competition that they have, and the thing that is and the thing that is important
as is important. Important is how we phrase it. And as an in individual and as an individual. So we believe that mental health we believe that mental health is not a thing. Sorry. We believe that mental health is not a thing that is impulse. Important. Important. And so their argument. So their argument already tackled. So their argument already tackled down to. Okay. And since we already since we already told you about the price of this debate, we believe that we should now. I mean we should win this debate. Thank you.
The opposition whip spent 6 minutes and 3 seconds, 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Well, thank you very much for all of the debaters. Since it is the first round, so we are going to announce the winner after this, the winner and also the best speaker. So please wait. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready?
Yeah, go.
Okay, we're about to announce the winner of the competition today. So, and also for those who's gonna become the represent of our university. But before that, I would like to tell one thing first. It is about the N1. We are really sorry for the N1. For those who's going to represent our university, we cannot announce it today because there are still a lot of things we need to discuss in terms of the consideration for becoming the N1. Okay, so today we're going to announce the winner except the N1, the representative of for our university. Okay. Sudah siap?
Okay, we are going to announce who will be the winner and who will be our representative to compete in NUDC selection on Al-Dikti wilayah 11. So, Pak Ade will sharing the screen. There. Okay, NUDC selection of University of Universitas Muhammadiyah Kalimantan Timur. Best team. Jeng jeng jeng. Okay, the second runner-up goes to Hubungan Internasional with 3 victory points. Congratulations. And then the first runner-up goes to Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris with 3 victory points. Congratulations. And the winner is, okay, the winner goes to Psikologi with 9 victory points. Congratulations. Okay. And then next for the best speaker, we will choose only 2 best speakers to be our delegation. Next, best speaker. The second best speaker goes to Elva Reza Brina from Hubungan Internasional. And then the first best speaker goes to, or the best speaker goes to Zazim Muhammad Sultan from Psikologi. Congratulations and please be prepare yourself to our